Hey Empress, how are you doing? This is just for you. The first card coming out in the pre-shuffles is the Empress, so this is a reading for the Empress. We're going to dive in, we're going to see what's going on, we're going to dive into the masculine vibration surrounding you, your life, your career, your money. We're going to dive into what you need to know most, okay? So hit that like button, tap your energy in, welcome to the Hermitologist channel if you are new. And let's go for a deep dive into the psyche. Let's find out what's going on. What is going on? What is going on with the Empress? Straight away, there's a masculine looking at you. Can he take a risk on you? Do you see him? He's close by. He's sensitive. He's loving. He's warm. He cares about you a lot. But a lot of the times his head is wrapped up in the clouds. He's always got a grand plan, a grand scheme, a great idea. He's not as grounded as you. He's more flighty. He comes and goes. He dreams the impossible dreams. He feels silly for dreaming. He feels silly for believing. He feels silly for believing in you. He looks at you as His Royal Highness, the Divine Empress, his counterpart, his true twin. He feels like you're a lot more stable and grounded than he is. You walk on air in his imagination. He feels silly for believing in you. He feels flighty, like he's not enough and he's not sure if he ever could be enough to be your other half. He doesn't feel as grounded and stable as you. He feels like financially, you are worth so much more. Your net worth, your salary, your beauty, your home, your elegance, your grace. He puts you so high above him that he gets lost in the clouds in fantasy over you. He doesn't know anyone else when he sees you. He doesn't know anyone else when he thinks about you. He desires more and more and more and more and more of you. And that scares him. That makes him nervous. He doesn't want to be seen as a laugh and a joke. He doesn't want to be not taken seriously. He wants to make you happy. He wants to provide for you. He wants to be loyal to you. He wants you to smile again. He wants to make your happiness his priority. And that's why he gets lost. Because his mind becomes fueled with passion and inspiration and desire to fill you up with everything that you deserve. Because he sees that there's been a window of time where you haven't been full and you haven't been happy and you've been sad and low and struggling and down and you haven't been as bright as you used to be. He sees that. He's been watching. His aura is no longer his aura. His aura is what he would refer to as our aura. Because he cannot deny that the connection and desire to be one with you hasn't already taken place through his view of you in the now. He's mesmerized by you, captivated, in love, enchanted. It's so euphoric and ethereal that it feels impossible to ground. So when he looks at you, Empress, he feels miles away from where he needs to be enough for you. She is grounded and stable and everything that I would ever want and need. I would always succeed with her by my side. When I look at her, I have pride. She makes me desire to strive for more and more every day. She makes me feel okay. I see her heart longing. I see her desire for more. I fear that it will be all too easy to ignore me, the masculine, the one craving for her. I don't think she'll ever believe how much she stirs my chakras, my internal energy, my aura, my chi. Would a woman like that ever believe in me and give me a chance to show her that we're fate? I'm even petrified to initiate that first date because it's a step I've never taken with a woman quite like her. My whole reality begins to stir. For in my heart, it's only her. So as I watch her and I see that she's longing and in need, and every ounce of my watching makes me feel like I can succeed, I'm still withdrawn and lost and lonely in love, praying to God to give me strength from above, because the thought of letting go and falling into her would only create a catastrophic stir of her vibration, my vibration, destiny as a whole. I'm not sure how to move forward and what line to toll when it comes to a queen, a divine empress like this. Surely a love so deep couldn't be an easy hit or miss. But how do I know? How do I surrender and see? I think we have to journey on. To find destiny. So I'm looking at a masculine and feminine that have just met. And that was a deep channel coming in from the divine masculine. He's looked straight on at the divine feminine. And she's looking down, her head's quite tilted, she's not looking forward. She doesn't desire to be seen, not at a time like this. She's been through so much and you can see that she's trying to keep moving forward. Have you ever seen those Disney movies and shows where Jasmine from Aladdin, Cinderella, Snow White, there's always an element where the queen, the royalist, the most beautiful princess or queen, the main character, is sitting there longingly, sadly, thinking she's not quite enough for the world. She's missing a piece of her destiny. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. She's looking out of the tower, waiting to be rescued. In this story, which is way beyond fantasy, but so unbelievable that it feels like it's fantasy only, in the masculine's mind at least. The feminine, interestingly enough, refuses to even dive into such fantasy, meaning she's more in masculine vibration. She's neglecting her feminine. The Empress in this reading is pushing her divine feminine away. And that is coming in the form of the divine masculine, who is in his serene, intuitive vibration of, I want to give my love to this situation. Let's keep going. The masculine has a lot he has let go of in the past. He's had grief and a situation that was quite similar to glass, because I'm getting the vision of don't throw stones in a glass house. And I think that his past situations were based on judgment and harsher outlooks and looking at other people and potentially wounding them from his perspective. The masculine has died and been born again in this cycle. All whilst the feminine has turned her back and looked away and prayed to God. I'm looking at the Empress, the divine feminine, who's neglecting her masculine at this time, who's been in retreat. You could have been praying 7 times a day, 12 times a day. You could be in intense worship. You could have a shrine, an altar. You could go to temple, pray to a deity. I see someone who's moved away and dived into worship and prayer, speaking directly to God and the divine. The masculine is so gorgeous at this time because he's got a whole new energy and a whole new vibration, because he died already. I say it with such confidence, he's died already, which is a weird thing to say. But the cards are making it clear he's not who he used to be, and he knows it. And the rebirth in him is what's restored his heart and soul. And a part of that rebirth, even though, Divine Empress, you've been looking away, you didn't see it. It didn't stop it from being true. It didn't stop him from seeing you. You turned your back, but he never did. He's not stopped seeing you. At one point in the connection when he had died, we're going to look at what that really means, okay? You was there. You was present. You was grieving. You were in anguish. You were hurt. Now, when we talk about death, we talk about transition, change, things that change you in life. So as I look at this energy of death, I see you running to be by the masculine side. Something happened to the masculine that changed him forever, and you were right there, Empress. You ran in. I don't see you with him, meeting him. Actually, I do. 2 situations. Firstly, during this death cycle that the masculine was going through, could have been ego death, could have been divorce, because I'm looking at a widow energy here too. Could have been passings of a loved one, anyone around, a loss, a serious loss occurred. During that period of time, the Empress has run towards the masculine. And in that moment, she's chasing what looks like money. As she's chasing the masculine, she's accruing wealth. How fascinating is that? As she's chasing the masculine, she's accruing wealth. She has no idea she's accruing wealth. She's just chasing the masculine because she's seeking peace. She's seeking, it's her natural instinct as the feminine to be beside the masculine at a time like this. So she's pursuing her destiny. And in that moment, she's also accruing wealth. And then the story ends until suddenly there's this get together, this coming together, this flattering vibration. where the masculine then out of nowhere begins to flatter the feminine. So you've met up, you've seen each other, you've engaged somehow. There's been communication again. And in that moment, the feminine's in awe and the masculine is serenading the feminine. These are snapshots of time of your relationship. So for the masculine, his key memories was a cycle of death, transition, major change. The feminine chasing him during that death cycle, him finding himself again, restoring his heart and chakras, and then there being some communication. Flattery is what I keep getting. Flattery. I feel like you're both serenading each other in your own unique ways. And as a result of that, it looks like the desire to impress is now rising in the masculine. And it's rising in a community, in your ecosystem, among family and friends and others, online. Whatever you're confessing, whatever you're opening up to, whatever the masculine is doing, there are women in the back watching. Because the masculine is putting on a show. He's on his own, putting on a show, showing that he's strong, showing that he's worthy, after being flattered. This could be a text message, a phone call, a meeting up, an event, something going on where there's other people around, or other people know. It could be in a group chat. Either way, there's been some flattery and beautiful communication that showed an alignment between masculine and feminine early on after a death cycle, and then the masculine goes on to be in his power alone. On the other side, the feminine is still shrouded in some need to go back to God. I need to go back to Jesus. I need to go back to Allah. I need to go back to Ra. I need to connect with Mother Gaia. I need to connect with Mother Earth. I need to return to Source. Yeah? Yeah. And then the Divine Feminine is now getting rich again. She doesn't even realize how much more abundance is stepping out from her. Every time the Divine Feminine moves, she gets richer. Because firstly, I had the Seven of Pentacles where she's running and money is accruing with every step she takes financially. Then I see her turning away and working with God. Then she's the Queen of Pentacles sitting on her throne, surrounded by the royalist riches. But then she's stopped in her tracks. She's blocked, prevented. She's told otherwise. There's a masculine figure here. Looks like a father or an authoritative figure in her life. It's not her husband or a partner romantically or sexually, but it's a masculine with a sword. He's not wielding a sword of truth. I want to say he's putting down his armor to convince her that he's not a threat. But he still wields the sword with a stern energy of, I control you. So there is this understanding that why the Empress, the Divine Feminine, has gone to worship and moved away with all of this money accruing around her is because there's a masculine who is trying to take control of her reality. The masculine is very deliberate in his attempts to block her ascension, her blessings, her journey, her destiny. He sees this divine masculine, and he has his own opinions of how this relationship should manifest and evolve. He tries to take what would be a authoritative father figure, a really strong legal stance. He tries to stand there with light vibration, saying, my armor's down. This is me looking after you, looking out for you. I'm just checking you're okay. But really, he is surveilling the land. Now, I would say he's giving guardsman energy. For he isn't the father or the king or the heir to the throne. He isn't the leader of the pack or the tribe of her life. But he's been given some kind of position. So if we relate this to royalty, because the masculine and feminine are giving king and queen of the castle and the kingdom, Camelot days is the kind of deck we're using. So bear with me as we dive, right? But he's got some kind of position where he feels like he's her handler. He's on guard, kind of the man that would stand at the princess's bedroom door to make sure that nobody enters without permission, right? And he would not allow you to leave the castle after hours. But it's the character he exudes is also, it benefits him. There's a situation that benefits this masculine. So the masculine isn't here to support and empower this relationship and empower the divine feminine. He's looking at a great angle for him. So if he was to be the father or the leading masculine in her life, he would be looking at the benefits for him in this connection. Who's going to pay for the wedding? Who's going to pay for this? What entitlements do I get? What role do I have in this relationship? It has nothing to do with this person. But there is a pecking order of royalty, and everyone has to play their parts and take on these different characters. In my head, I'm getting like best man and bridesmaids and grooms, and who's doing what at the event for this and that. And he's concerned about if he's going to get derunged and demoted from his position in the castle as guardsman. That's his biggest issue. This is Game of Thrones. Come on, yeah? The reason this is this way as well for this man, I'll be nice because the next card I pulled, is because he doesn't want to see history repeat itself in relation to what the feminine's been through in the past. And whoever sat on the throne, so it gives me the feminine's father. It gives me lineage and ancestry and history. The man who's coming off shrewd and cutting and manipulative in how he handles the feminine's ascent and alignment towards this masculine that loves her, it's based on really deep roots of that father vibration. Shocked to see that myself. And neglect, longing, fulfillment versus a lack thereof. So the feminine may notice that this guardsman is a bit of an arsehole and a wanker and annoying. Like, okay, stay with me. I'm not losing the thread, but I'm getting a clear sight of this, and it's shifting my perspective a little bit, because the way I just described him is how the feminine sees him. But when you look behind his energy, someone has to do that job. Because the ancestry, the lineage, the opportunity for this to be a positive relationship or a negative relationship is dependent on how well this is managed and how this is handled. So the guardsman, the handler, the protector is in position, and no one wants to listen to their handler. You're not allowed out. Dad provided you with a security guard. You have to listen to him. But I want to go and get this. I want to go and shop. I want to do this. No, you're not allowed at this time. That place isn't safe. There's a pecking order, and unfortunately for the feminine who desires to be free, the pecking order falls to the guardsman, because that's been his job handed down to him. That is his actual official role. He is the guardsman for the feminine, and she cannot stand that. But he is weighing up all the elements of the situations, more fractals than the Empress knows. But the Empress is broken and in a lower vibration, looking away and looking to God, because once again she feels like that Rapunzel in the tower, Sleeping Beauty waiting for that magical kiss, Snow White trying not to eat the apple, Cinderella waiting for the glass slipper. It's always something in the feminine's reality where she just goes, it never works. I'm going to surrender to divine. I'm going to surrender to God. God works. I'm tired of there always being a masculine in control. I'm tired of always being led here and there by another person who is supposed to be the leader of me. I want to be my own lead. I want to take my own seat. I want to make my own decisions. I desire to ascend in my own way that isn't in line with what the castle declares to be right. Yeah? We're using a lot of metaphors here, because we all have lineage and we all have a home, our own castle, our own places where we lay our head to rest. So understand those vibrations as well. Could be an older sibling, an uncle, someone who's trying to manage negotiations. This gives me a little bit of arranged marriage. Yeah? And the pressures of an arranged marriage is just not often a really positive experience for everyone. And it's kind of, someone's got to weigh up all the options and the directions and the derivatives of this to see what isn't going to work. But the judgment call's already been made by this guardsman, and the divine feminine Empress is just sitting there working with her alchemical divine gifts with God. She's ascending. But what was in blocking her with this masculine who was trying to be a protector, a father, a confidant, a guide, has really been a guise for real measurement of everything that's going on in her life. And she's taking checks and balances and weighing up the pros and cons and checking the ledger to make sure everything's safe and running security checks and risk assessments. And she doesn't see all of that. She just sees someone being evasive and underhanded and manipulative, and that's enough for her to just move away and fall into Jesus, fall into God, fall into Mother Gaia, whatever you believe in. Trust in the universe. Only exude love and light. Pull away from that vibration, because she's trying to break chains and limitations too. She doesn't desire to be seen as the center of the attention, or the one that is waiting to be hit on by the masculine, waiting for love to dive in towards her. She doesn't want to put herself on show, but she feels more on show because of all of this that's occurred. And because the past energy is getting dug up by this guardsman, this family member, this masculine who feels like he has the lead on her future directions, and he is running the assessment, the arranger. Let's call him the arranger here. That's what makes her dissociate, because the arranger is trying to arrange everything, and the Empress desires to arrange her own reality. Yeah? So she already feels limited by this old school traditional values of how she has to be controlled and handed over to the new masculine that's going to take her up the aisle or take her where he desires for them to go. Once again, the feminine is played down in all of her glory, because there's a masculine to masculine handoff here. Some of you guys, this could be a stepdad, a stepfather, your mother's husband. He gives not quite dad. And that's the best I can say. He's not quite your dad, but he's the next descendant in line, disciple in line, someone who's decided to take on that position. And as a result, it's something that just doesn't sit well with you in the modern day, right? With the feminine. And while that's all going on, the masculine is up to something. Very cheekily so, may I add. What I see here from the masculine is a very light-hearted, playful energy, still really light, really serious energy from the feminine, really light energy from the masculine. He's watching, he's observing, he's planning, he's manifesting, he's making wishes, he's understanding the feminine very well. You may have had secret rendezvous, secret meetups. Initially, I didn't think you went on a date at all, but now I'm seeing it looks like you've met up and serenaded. There's been close intimacy on 1, 2, 3 occasions. And every now and then, I think maybe the masculine flashes you a little bit. Not flashing, but like he peacocks you a little bit. He shows a little side of himself for you to see him a little bit more. He's opening up. And the feminine doesn't really often receive that very well, because she's interestingly, the masculine looks a lot younger. He's matured throughout this situation, but he looks a lot younger. The feminine looks a lot older. I think the stubbornness and the irritation she has with the masculine protector around her is kind of what makes her feel somewhat burdened and pushes any engagement away from the other masculine, right? Because she worries that it's going to mirror the guardsman, the protector energy, or her past, or the family life dynamics. All the fears stem up in the feminine because of this guardsman and the role he plays in her life, or that he has played, or the connections he has to her history of her more than anything else. Just her whole life is mirrorable and viewable and in sight and shared in a heavy, not great light when this masculine is in that position, because it becomes a burden. I can't explain it. It's something about ungrounding and a lack of clear communication. Something that she's fought a lot against. Imagine you spent years and years working on your root chakra, years and years working on your throat chakra, and every time you go back to that old family, that old place, that old community, those old relationships, whoever that masculine is, there is not a strong root chakra vibration or a strong throat chakra vibration, and that takes away from the feminine. Because the feminine's built her lifestyle in the future on having such grounded heart, root chakra and throat chakra synchronicity. And she desires that in anyone she sees. So the clash of her old life and her potential new life leading with this masculine is wavering on her ability to be free in the future and not tethered to what she looks back on as a traumatic past, a limited evolution, right? The masculine all this time has been really, really working on his solar plexus and his heart, confidence, throat chakra. He knows she's grounded. He knows she's incredible with communication. He knows that she's not as confident as she could be. And he's desiring to build that trust and confidence mixed up with a lot of chakras. He's got a lot of solar plexus, heart, and throat chakra all merging. There's a lot that he wants to say to her. a lot of memories from the past, a lot of unbelievable synchronicities and things that you wouldn't think were actually possible or remotely significant, yet they are. And there's all of these times that you've met this masculine. And there's been these really synchronistic moments where the light suddenly came on. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe you were on the street and suddenly you held hands and the street lights came on. You were sitting somewhere and something happened that was suddenly mystical or magical, out of like a fairy tale. It sounds irrealistic, guys, but it's true, and it's what I'm seeing. It's like there's this beautiful serenading love and this fantasy that's genuinely true, right? Like, it feels like fantasy and like a Disney magical story that could never be true, but it is true. No one's denying the reality of this. But it's just when we look at the past and what's happened, and there's memories of I want to say secret moments, stolen moments, moments of time where you fell into each other without realizing it, and conversations you've had that were just light throat chakra conversations, but now appear to be illuminated in line with everything else that's played out over space and time. And it kind of shows absolute confessions. Hard thing for me to say. A lot I'm seeing, guys, because I'm looking at a masculine who has put this woman on his back, and he's got a belt all the way around his body of coins. He's carrying 8 of Pentacles around his body whilst carrying this woman on his back through water. And she's lapping it in, laughing, really happy, surrounded by root chakra and heart chakra energy. They look like they're on a farm. There's portals around and gateways and animals. It's gorgeous. It's such a beautiful life and empowering. And the masculine's just falling into love with the feminine, and the feminine's in ecstasy. But that's come from, once again, the masculine going through grief. The masculine had to look lengthily at love. What is love? What is my heart? The masculine could have tried to offer the feminine something. In this photo I'm looking at, the masculine has flowers in his hand. Half of the flowers are falling into the water. He's watching loads of swans go past him, and he's heartbroken and devastated, like he went on a date and she didn't show up. That's what it feels like. He's waiting at the edge of the bridge with flowers in his hands, and he's just slowly throwing the flowers into the stream beneath him, because he's been let down because the Empress didn't show. And that's another memory. Before this effervescent running off together energy with all of the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles comes out after that with the Magician, and the Queen of Cups, and the Ace of Cups, and the Hierophant, and the Hermit. Wow. Hermit, Hierophant, Ace of Swords, Queen of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, Magician. A Hermit, Hierophant energy. 2 separate energies going within. Firstly, shedding a light on this whole story. Every still, every photo finish, every frame, the ins and the outs of how this is manifested. The morals and integrity attached to this vibration. The sword of truth here. Finally, the sword is raised. which is exactly what the feminine needs to see, because it was the sword that was lowered and the armor that was down that was meant to convince the feminine from the masculine of her past, who's been her guide, that it's okay to surrender and let go and tell him everything. But she knew better than to open her heart and overgive and share in that connection, for trust couldn't be determined in that connection. The masculine bridge and passage that was laid before this new connection, which obviously wasn't romantic. I said it's not an ex or anything like that. It's not an ex-husband or anything like that either. It's family ties. That old energy was never raised. Someone never stood on truth. Someone never had morals and integrity in line with what she believed was enough. But now this masculine shows that and exudes that, and that allows her to have the emotions that she desires, the truth. Any female, any empress desires to be in a connection where she can pour into another freely without fear, because truth exists and material reality is a thing, not just ethereal connection. But the Ace of Pentacles, it's grounded, it's real, it's tangibility. Tangible assets are real here, right? So on that note, we're at a stage now where the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords, in between the Queen of Cups, is massive fulfillment, along with the Magician card, because it's saying this manifestation has made it to new ground. We're looking at 3 major arcanas, 2 aces, and a queen. Judgment card also still at the top of this spread, which was the only thing from her past that she desired to carry. So feminine, when we started talking to you, we didn't even know that masculine was going to come through for a little channel then, and he did. If you like that channel that we had at the beginning, let me know and we'll do more of that. But now this is the judgment call, because the Empress is clearly saying one thing on the outro, and that is morals and integrity are everything. I stand on truth. I stand on purity. I stand on integrity. I desire love. I desire everything. But it has to come from within, and it has to be sincere, and it can't be disingenuous, and it can't be a show or a gimmick. It has to have true tangibility. And it has to make me feel like more than an option, more than a sex piece, a time piece. I want to say a sex piston. Is that a thing? It makes me think about some kind of band or something rock and roll-ish. But there's love here. And it is available. And it is just gorgeous to see the evolution of both parties. But it is going to take a lot of strength from both parties to stand in their new selves. Because although the feminine did not have a death like the masculine, she still has had to make a judgment call on her past, on her family, on her friends, on her old relationships. She's made a moral judgment call, whilst the masculine's gone through a death and rebirth. In reality, together they need to look at each other with their new, I wanted to say pronouns, but I wanted to say compounds at the same time. So whatever you kind of believe in, should I say, you got to look at yourself with your new labels, your new monotropic vision, your new kaleidoscopic view, new lenses, and then make a decision about how you bridge that divide and unite based on you two alone, because no one else can step in now, especially on the feminine's part, because she's made it clear that no one else is going to have the keys to her engine. No one else is going to have the guardsman's position in her life. No one else has owned that. No one else has deserved that title. So that the burden for the feminine is she felt robbed that anyone would even try and step in and be that masculine negotiator in her life, because she refused to see that as a positive in her reality after what she had really been through that was unseen by so many. Yet the masculine has no idea of a lot of those hidden secrets and that darker, heavier stuff, and continues to bring a lighter vibration, which is really what the feminine needs. But there also needs to be understanding of the burdens that have had to be dropped for this to even reach where it is today, and that the feminine still needs comfort and reassurance through what she's had to go through, because as much as the masculine is healed and grieved, the feminine is still really burdened and still grieving a lot of the losses she didn't initially see as losses. And as much as the masculine laughs off all of these incidents, the feminine knows otherwise. She knows that the masculine is still carrying, whether he knows it or not. For she's the one that is worshipping and praying and diving into God energy frequently. So she knows there's a lot more alchemical work that needs to be done, a lot more transmutation, a lot more magician cards, a lot more magic in order for this to truly be transmuted for healthy unity. So keep working on self, Empress, and keep working on yourself, Emperor. Divine masculine and feminine, you are on your way. Keep shining. Until next time.